Nathan, thanks for coming on the show. How was your last trip?
Cheers, mate. It was okay, mate. Depends who you ask. My missus, flat out. Me, was pretty steady, so bit of wire line, bit of slick line, bit of skid to another well, because we're currently on a platform, so I don't know if you've ever been on a jack-up, have you?
Yeah.
I were on a platform off Holland, and I think there's 4 wells on there. We've done 2, and I think we've just went to the 3rd one now. I can't remember, it was night shift, so it's all a bit of a blur, isn't it? And then
Did you not do any short changing back? Yeah, you short change back to day shift.
So we do a week of nights.
Yeah.
And 8 hours off, 8 hours on, 8 hours off, 12 hours on the days. So it's pretty heavy, that.
Yeah, that short change is horrible. I went on jack-up actually a few years back, and we were doing coil tubing in Holland as well, funnily enough. And the drill crew, they were doing that short change. I was on nights, I think pretty much every trip actually then. So we just go out, do your 2 weeks of nights, and then come back on night shift mode, obviously. And you would see them coming out for their short change at 2 or 3 in the morning for them going off that day. Was it them going off that day or no? The boys. Sorry, the boys were. Yeah, they were coming off. They were on day shift. Sorry, coming on night, going off shift, and then they'd be back on at 2, 3 in the morning to do their change back, and they look an absolute mess.
We do the same thing. So we short change from nights to days, a week of days, and then the last shift is it's like you short change again. So you come out at 6 in the morning, finish it 2 in the afternoon, 10 o'clock you come back out till 6 in the morning. Then your chopper's like on deck, 9, half 9, 10 o'clock. So you have a couple of hours to get to sleep. And then, I mean, you're pie-eyed by then.
Yeah.
You've not slept the 8 hours off before properly. So it's not good for the body. I mean, that's why I'm bald, I suppose. But
it's probably something that could really do this is just my opinion, obviously, in the drilling side of things. I think the short change thing is brutal.
It's horrible, man.
I know I saw a post on LinkedIn saying that most incidents happen, quite a lot of incidents happen around that short change period. Obviously, like I said off air, I moved to renewables, and the vessel I'm on now, they do 6 on, 6 off. It's a little bit easier for moving the shifts about, but they'll come on, they'll do 2 weeks on days, then they'll go 3 weeks on nights, and then they'll come off on 1 week of days. But the good thing is about that is obviously they're a lot more adjusted for kind of going home on that last week to kind of swing back. And I think I thought it was quite good, but then it's still 6 weeks away, which isn't very good. But I thought that the way of doing the shift changeovers was a little bit more amicable, shall we say. Guys, I'm sorry to interrupt this show, and I really hope you're enjoying it. One thing I'm going to ask you, if you're listening to it and you're not liking, following or subscribing to it, could I ask a massive favour that you do? It really helps the show, it helps me bring in more people, and it helps me get more stories out there, which in favour brings more stories back in. Let's get back to it.
If that does exist. So the problem we've got is like 2 weeks. That's not a great deal of time for your body to adjust. And
no.
You come onto the rig, say at 10 o'clock in the morning, then you have to try and get to sleep and go on to night shift. Then in the middle, you swing around from nights to days. And then again at the end of the trip, from days to 1 night shift, and then you're going home. And then I'm going home to three girls, and I'm shot, and my missus is like, you're always tired when you get home the first weekend, right off, like, and of course it is. Like, me circadian rhythm has changed 3 times in 14 days. Excuse me. That's not normal.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't know if 2 weeks is the greatest anymore. I think, obviously, I know a lot of platforms and stuff, they do 2 weeks, but then I think they get some of them are getting 3 weeks off, or now I think a lot of them have moved to 3, 3, 3, 4, some of them and whatnot. But 2 weeks, I feel just really, I find it quite difficult to get into a rhythm in 2 weeks. Like, I don't know whether that's just because I've started doing longer trips myself, but 2 weeks, like by the time it's got to 2 weeks, I'm like, right, okay, I'm embedded, like I'm kind of, yeah, I'm good to go. But it takes you about 4 days just to get into night shift, 4 or 5 days to get into night shift mode. And if you're taking 5 days, you're in night shift, and then you're swinging straight back around to day shift.
That's
It's not
exactly
very
it.
good for you. Like,
That's it, mate. And that 5 days to get into nights, and then one day, and then you're back onto days, and then you're hanging out your arse the first few days of day shift, swap again. So, and then the 2 weeks at home takes me.
yeah,
I get home Thursday night, takes me till Saturday, sometimes Sunday, before I'm feeling.
you're kind of back. Yeah.
I like before I'm mentally charged and right, I'm normal now. I can like step into being a father and enjoy my time at home. So yeah, it is awesome.
And then you've got to deal with the realities of everything that's been going on while you've been away as well, because obviously life doesn't stop when you're gone. So you've got to kind of play catch up, especially if the kids are doing something different in their night routine or something like that, and you've got to be quick to get onto that.
Well, I'm never quick with that, mate. Honestly, I'm not like. For example, dropping one of the kids off at Nerfik today. She was sick in the car this morning, and that was a logistic and nightmare. I was actually catching the sick in my hand because I thought she was choking. I pulled over quickly. And then I realised I didn't have a bag for spare clothes. So
Yeah.
I took her to nursery this morning, and I was like, look, she's been sick, she's fine. She's put her foot in her mouth, and she's gagged and vomited. I'll be back in 15 minutes with a spare set of clothes. And I realised, like, where's the bag? I'm texting my missus, she's at work, she's a teacher. No reply.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm hunting around the house looking for this bag, which was hanging up in my youngest daughter's room. And then looking through spare clothes, what do I need? And I'm thinking, what do I need? This is normally packed. Like,
Someone else does this for me.
I'm not used to this. Like, and my missus always has to go like, oh, you don't know where the baby grows are or the socks. And I'm like, oh. And then I'll ask her, like, who's the mortgage with? And she's like, oh. So I say, look, I have my things and your things, and together I hope we make a good team anyway. But you know how it is, mate. Like, it's tough adjusting to the life when come back.
I think there's plenty of people who will relate and probably have a similar kind of argument between them and the missus. Anyway, who's Nathan? What's your job offshore?
So yeah, Nathan Giles, assistant driller. Work for Valaris, UK sector. Working in Holland, like I've already said. Been offshore 11 years, just over 11 and a half years, so to speak. Previous to that, a year and a half in scaffolding, and previous to that, 6 years in the Marines. So that's me.
But back to the Marines, how was that?
Challenging. Joined at 16. Completely unprepared, to be honest.
Yeah.
Going further back to that, the reason I wanted to join is I always had like a fascination with the military growing up in the early 90s. I was born in 89, so early 90s, like your action man. One of my earliest memories was getting like an action man figurines and stuff, like when I believe Santa and all that carry on. And then watching Top Gun, and then I had this thing where I was like, I want to be a fighter pilot. And obviously that didn't work out. I tried.
Not in the Marines anyway.
No, I tried. I joined the Air Cadets at about 12 or 13. And then I soon realised like the chances of that happening, being a fighter pilot, I've got more chance of being a professional footballer in somewhere like Sunderland. Yeah, I actually know more professional footballers from here than fighter pilots. So do you know what I mean? It's just never.
Yeah.
But when I was in the Air Cadets, I soon and quickly realised that I preferred the green field exercises as to other things like the flying. We did do flying and gliding and other things, but I enjoyed being out in the field on exercise and with weapon systems. And so I thought, right, I want to join the Marines. That's meant to be the hardest training in NATO or the world. I think it was 32 weeks when I went through, but so that was me reasoning behind it. Do you know what I mean? I always had like this military sort of goal.
Yeah.
Never academic at school. I didn't do bad. I passed all my GCSEs, but I never stuck in. Do you know what I mean, Joe?
Yeah.
It was more of a laugh for me, mate, being at school. I was with me
Socializing. Yeah.
socializing,
Yeah.
turn up. It was more of a laugh.
Yeah.
And our school at the time, it's different now. We were allowed out for lunch, and our school was like just on the sort of periphery of the city centre. So we would leave for dinner, a bunch of lads, you know, teenagers giving it the big eye arm and causing a little bit of chaos in the town centre, then coming back. So it was a laugh school. And I try and tell my oldest daughter now, she's in year 11, I'm saying, look, mate, you need to enjoy it because the real world is just around the corner.
It's crap once you leave. That's what I'd say the same to my kids. This is school's boring. I said, tell you what, it's a lot more boring when you get out of it. Like,
and when you've got responsibilities and bills and so I missed them days. So leaving school, I left at like 15 because of my birthday. End of August. I think the GCSEs were like July or something like that, June, July. So I left and I got a job as a glass collector in a bar in the city centre in Sunderland. And one of the nights I worked was a Tuesday night, which happened to be a gay night. So that opened my eyes a bit. And the barman had a laugh with me, winding us up with obviously the punters in there. And then that was 2005. In 2006, I'd done my PRMC for the Marines, which is the Potential Royal Marines course. It's like a 4-day beast, and you go down as a civilian to Lympstone Commando Training Centre, Royal Marines in Lympstone, which is 8 miles south of Exeter. And that's where you do all your training. So I went down there on my PRMC and I failed, which obviously wasn't part of the plan.
no.
Like I say, I was underprepared. And it wasn't until that first failure that I realised, like, I need to really step it up a game. So I hit me training harder and everything. And I went back, done the next PRMC, and I passed that. And then I got a date for joining Royal Marines training. I think it was like 6 weeks later in 2006. So that was the sort of lead up to joining the Marines. And then 2006, joined training. When I got in there, and then you realise, again, like 16, these geezers are fully grown men. Do you know what I mean? And I actually joined, I always say this as a laugh, I joined a scrawny ginger virgin, because it's true. So, and I'm in the shower with these geezers, and I'm looking at them, you know, everyone's start bollock naked. Thinking,
Yeah.
I'm just a man, you know, I'm just a kid. And but it's not all about the physicality, you know, being in the Marines, it's mental as well. And the training's 32 weeks. The first 2 weeks is called foundation. So they take you right back to basic. In the first 2 weeks, the foundation phase, you're living like 60-man block. You learn how to shower. You learn how to brush your teeth, which for me was great because I hadn't developed these bad habits like some young adults maybe had. Do you know, if you're 21 or 22, I was still very much malleable and naive. So it was easy for me, I think, in that phase to mould. Do you know what I mean? And then you learn like ironing, immaculate, like ironing shirts. Even now, like me missus will go out just like iron this because I'm like the supreme ironer. And it's never left us. So you learn the basics in the foundation phase, and then they basically strip everyone back. And I was already stripped back anyway, you know what I mean? I was a bit of a blank canvas at 16. So they strip everyone back and they build you up, block by block by block, mentally, physically, psychologically, and I strip you back and rebuild you. And over the 32 weeks, that's the end product is a Royal Marines Commando, which is ultimately the end goal. But it's not by what am I looking for? Mistake that it's how it is. That 32 weeks is a system that's been designed. And if each interval, like the first 9 weeks is like you do a gym pass out, where it's all like high ropes, but in gym gear indoors. And then you'll move on to like bottom field, which is assault courses. And then you start introducing boots and weapon with weight and your rifle. And then you develop and you do like a bottom field pass out, which you need to pass to move on to the next phase. And then you move into the commando phase, which is the last 6 or 8 weeks. I can't remember now. I think it's the last 6 weeks. And then the commando phase is like polishing off all your soldiering, physically supreme. And then you've got your commando tests at the end, your full commando tests. So if you pass them, you get given your green barrier. And then 2 weeks later, you pass out, which is it's a monumental day. That was a good day.
When do you think you realised about that 32 weeks being designed that way? Because obviously I can't imagine at 16 years old you're going to remember that this has been planned for me to be like this. No.
Nah, you're just living day by day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, let's get the working day out of the way and let's iron and clean and wash. Mate, you're not thinking about anything apart from being in the moment and planning for the next day and surviving and getting through the night, because sometimes the training team will come in, spot inspections, trash your locker. They'd say, right, you've got an inspection at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're thinking, oh my God, like all your kit, they get to throw your kit over the side down the stairs, and then all your kit's meant to have names on. So then you're rummaging through everyone's kit. So there's 40 people's worth of kit and a pile at the bottom of the stairs, and you're looking through for your name. And you're thinking, I've got to get this back to a squared away locker by 6 o'clock in the morning. It's now 10 o'clock at night, and it's impossible. And the notes are impossible. But do you know what I mean? It's just mind games, mate. Like I say, it's not all about the physical element, which it is very physical, but it's the psychological as well that a lot of people struggle to deal with in training. But it builds you up, and it works, mate. Definitely works.
How much do you think you've taken from your time in the Marines offshore with you?
Huge amounts.
Yeah.
So, again, you don't realise it at the time, but in the Marines, they've got the 4 commando ethos, or the commando spirit. You've got like courage, unselfishness, determination, and my absolute favourite is the cheerfulness in the face of adversity. So, like offshore, you don't really have to be courageous. I mean, there is times when I've displayed a little bit of courage. When I first started to work the monkey board as a roughneck on a manual rig, and you're like sort of 90 feet up, leaning out, throwing in drill pipe. But I was never scared of heights. I've got a healthy respect for them. But, determination is another good one, because I'm sure you've used it yourself, where something's not going right. And I mean, more often than not, that happens offshore, doesn't it? So, and you're thinking like, determined to get this done. So that's a good one that you can sort of carry in. Unselfishness, I think, working as a team and looking out for your oppos or your teammates, your fellow Marines or fellow drill crew or the roughnecks or whatever, do you know what I mean? And I always try and put the lads before me as a leader as well. And like I say, cheerfulness in the face of adversity, I love having a laugh in it. And when things are not going well, if you can have a laugh, you're winning. That is as simple as that. As long as no one's been hurt, which I've seen from my time in the Marines and unfortunately offshore. If something isn't going well, a job isn't going well or whatever, if you can have a good crack, you laugh at it, you get through it, and one foot in front of the next. Do you know what I mean? So then for ethos, even though they sort of embody a Royal Marine, I've carried them across, because joining the Marines at 16, I left when I was 23. Like, that was me going from a teenager to a grown man, and possibly some of the hardest environments there is, and some of the hardest situations, toughest situations I've ever been in. And it sort of molded me into this person, which I never realized until I actually got into the drilling game. And then you think, right, I work with this person, my personality might not fit with them, but we can work together because, I've got the foresight to see how things can work out. So there's a lot of good things came from my time in the Marines, mate. And another one is like leadership. I've worked under some unbelievable leaders. At 4-5 Commando. I was based at 4-5 Commando in Arbroath.
Just down the road.
Just down the road from sunny Dundee. So I've worked under some fantastic leaders, and I've sort of tried to emulate how their sort of personality, and not so much personality, but their traits, and copy them. And as a junior leader now, as an assistant driller, I like to think of myself as a decent leader. I'll put people first, and I always think about the lads, because them are the ones that are doing the physical graft. Now, not so much me, because I've getting out of that, as an AD. Still get stuck in now and then when I can, but it's more psychological and mental and planning as an AD. But so them are the main things I would say. Them 4 commandos ethos, a decent leadership is definitely something I've carried.
How does one go from the Marines to drilling floors?
It's a good question. So left the Marines in 2012, and I had the idea of getting into the maritime security industry. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Piracy. That booming at the time, and like lads were leaving the Corps and getting paid like 300 quid a day, 400 quid a day, and I'm just like, that's astronomical. So at my peak, I was earning like 27, 28 grand a year as a young Marine. So I was thinking, right, I'm gonna put my notice in. My oldest daughter had just been born in 2010. I didn't want to redeploy to Afghanistan. I didn't want to go through that again, and especially now being a father. So right, let's get out. So I put my 12 months notice in. I had a big plan. A big plan of getting into the anti-piracy maritime security game, and that just didn't materialize. To be honest, it was a bit of a shock. So my massive plan of 400 quid a day went rapidly out the window, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't got any skills. Like, I haven't got any transferable skills. I thought that at the time. All I've come out with is like your class 1, class 2, and my driving license. Do you know what I mean? Like, driving licenses, I'd get them, thankfully. And my old man's a petrol tanker driver, and he was like, oh, get on the wagons. And I was like, I hate driving. Like, it's not for me. Being sat in the same thing and driving. So anyway, one day I got a phone call off a friend, a female friend. Her mate at the time was seeing this guy who owned a scaffolding company local. He was after a driver and a labourer. So I was like, oh, go on then. It's like 50 quid a day. It's better than nothing. I've literally got hardly anything here. This was like a few weeks after I'd left, and I'd had a couple of paydays sort of coming from the Marines. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to get my finger out. So I went and started working for a local scaffolding company, 50 quid a day, cash in hand at the time. Then I managed to get my part 1 ticket out of it. And then I ended up in London. One of my mates who I met at the scaffolding company, who was actually in the Marines now, he joined the Marines. He always had a fascination with the Marines, and that we ended up living together in London. And I think I might have sort of guided him into joining the Marines, which he did. And he's a 4-5 commando now anyway. So I went and worked and lived in London for a year, which was classmate. That was like one of my favourite summers, because I was newly single and I was earning really good money down in London, working like 10-hour night shifts, 13 shifts on, 1 shift off. But I was with an agency, so every now and then you could stick an extra day's leave, and I would come home and see my daughter. Or another time I would spend 2 days on the lash in London and spend an absolute fortune. But it was great, mate. Lived like a mile from Ministry of Sound. I'm a big trans fan, so that was perfect. And then that was sort of coming to a close, and I was like, I need some rotation, I need routine. And I knew about the drilling game, and I'd heard of people, sort of local lads, like seeing the work offshore, the Derrickman, all these sort of exotic names, Roughneck. I was like, that's a bit like me, do you know what I mean? These names that you've never heard of. And pure chance, mate. My mother was a nurse at the time. She's retired now. So she was doing an operation. She worked in theatres. She was doing an operation on a guy she went to school with, and he at the time had like an offshore drilling agency, like for international. And she was saying, "Oh, how are you getting on?" Blah blah blah. To this fella, he actually passed away last year, bless him. But and he says, "I'll get him to get in touch with me, and I'll point him in the right direction." And he did, and he basically gave us a list of courses to pay for. And I'd obviously saved up a bit of money working down London, and I was like, right, this is it. I'm going to take the leap. So left the job in London. It sort of came to an end, and I got another sort of menial scaffolding job in London. So I left that, and I got a job scaffolding around the doors again. And then I done my survival, and I'd done like helicopter refueling, helideck firefighting and all that. I'd done these courses that Gary told us to do, and it cost us about $6 or $7 which was a bit of a gamble, really.
No, mate. Yeah.
I wasn't guaranteed any work, but 3 days after I'd done my firefighting ticket in Teesside, I'd obviously sent my CV out and everything to the agencies, got offered as a job, saying, "Can you mobilise to Holland?" It was actually my first trip on the N-Score 92, which is a manual rig. N-Score's now Valaris.
Yeah.
The rest history, mate. So
you went off as, I think you went off as a roastie, did you?
I did.
Yeah.
So I went on that trip. It was a 2-week trip, obviously being in Holland. Turned up and I was like, what is this? Sort of getting off the helideck. Like, again, like I've been in some of the worst situations ever in the worst places. And I think, I mean, this is a strange place, like a metal tin can in the middle of the sea. And all these exotic names of things. Like, I remember my first couple of days, like one of the other roasties, he was like, "Right, lad, go and tie the crane off." And I was like, "Tie the crane off? Like, how do you tie a crane off?" You know, all these terminologies that are completely alien. So that was like my first trip, and a lot of it stuck with us because it was my first one, where since then, they kind of merge into one, don't they?
Yeah.
Loads of stuff. So I started working for this agency, and then I think I'd done about 3 or 4 trips, and I got offered a contract. And then, like, when I looked at the contract, I was like, "Oh my God, this is like mega money." I think it was like 40 grand at the time.
That's good money.
Good money, mate.
Yeah, that's like 10 years ago.
11 years,
That sounds pretty good money back then. You think about that, that's pretty good money. That was good dough back in those days.
So I'm living at home with my mother.
Oh, it's even better.
Even better, I was thinking, oh my God, I might be driving around a Lamborghini on a council estate. Obviously, I didn't buy the Lamborghini, but... so I signed the contract with N-Score. It was 2014. I think it was the 18th of September, actually, because it's just recently gone, and it always comes up on my email. Anyway, so I think I've done about 2.5 years as a roastie on the N-Score 92, which is an old manual rig, and the crews were great, mate. Because it's an old manual rig, a lot of people say this, but it's true. The crack and
it's better.
It's better because you're all in this sort of hardship together of like constantly dealing with problems. So I've done 2.5 years as a roastie, and then I got promoted to roughneck. Again, another little pay rise. So, and then from roughneck up to AD. So that's how I went from, to cut a long story short, from the Marines to the drill floor.
Yeah. So you've only worked on jackups then, drilling rigs, sorry.
Yeah, I've never been on a platform, never been on a drill ship. I've never been on a semi. I've only worked on jackups, and I've obviously heard all the
holiday camp stories.
The holiday camp. Well, example, my missus' best mate, her fella, he works on a platform off Aberdeen, and he'll text his missus saying, "Oh, got like 2 days stand down, so we're just playing golf on the golf simulator." She'll tell my missus, right? And then I'm getting it in the neck. She thinks I've got 2 days off.
Yeah.
I'm like...
Golfing.
Golfing in Amsterdam, she thinks I am. And that's the truth, mate.
It's frightening
So
how people think offshore is just one. Some people, not all people, obviously. Some people think that offshore is just this one place.
now one place where you all get together
Yeah,
and
one
have your
place, and everyone
weekends
goes
off.
to this one place. Yeah.
I've had people like, you speak them who are completely out of tune with the offshore world. Like, oh, what do you get up to on your weekend? The safest Monday to Friday.
Say the
Do you know
boat
what
in.
I mean? It's so my missus sees it like her mate's fella is playing golf and he's eating Mr. Whippy in the cinema room. He ain't like, oh no, rig.
No,
I mean, it's not the rig I'm on now is a fantastic rig. It's a new build. It was built not long back, and I've been on it since it was built for the last 6 years. So I'd come from Singapore, and I joined it as a roughneck from Singapore. So it's brand new. The drilling equipment is good. Everything works to a certain extent. It's
yeah,
getting run, but there's definitely no cinema rooms, no golf simulator, and no Mr. Whippy. So it's different from the holiday camps. I'm led to believe, anyway.
no. There are holiday camps out there. I'm not gonna lie. The vessel I'm on at the moment has got a five-a-side football pitch on it. Like, so yeah, there's interesting
That's
things
all
done.
well.
Yeah,
We've got a ping pong table which you can sort of, it's a hybrid pool table. You can
that's standard, is it not? It's the standard on most places I've been. That's a lie.
Is it?
No, I'm joking.
So it is different.
One of the things you said, obviously, because I asked a few things to you before you came on, is you try not to moan because well, you've been in a lot worse places for money. How important do you think that is for people to have that perspective?
It's hard for people to understand though if they've never been in more difficult situations, isn't it?
Yeah, in that regards, but then from someone who has understood more difficult situations, so probably can kind of shine a light on that. Probably obviously, you said you did Afghan.
Yeah.
When you look back when you think back on things like that, having a perspective when you're offshore now and you don't moan because you know how bad it can be. How important do you think it is to make sure not to go physically force it down them, but to kind of use that kind of experience to kind of shine a light, so to speak, on the situations you're in.
I know what you're saying, mate, and like I try and do that as again as a junior leader, as an assistant driller. The lads kind of look up to you, and the roughnecks I've got are brilliant. All younger than me, keen, want to get after it, like want to learn, and I try and mentor them. But I always try and say, look, it could always be worse. Like even if we've had a bad day or there's been a mistake, or it can always be worse. Believe us, because I've been there. And like speaking about harsh environments, like Afghan, you've got the heat. When I'd done my tour, it was the heat, and then we went into the winter, and it's freezing. Like especially in the mountainous area of Kajaki, where I spent the second half of my tour, that was freezing. And then I've also been Arctic warfare training in Norway. Again, that is proper freezing from -30 down to -40, -45. So you've got two different perspectives there. You've got the desert, which is red hot, again, and mountainous and quite cold. And then you've got the Arctic, which is inherently freezing. Two different places, difficult to soldier in both. I never went to the jungle in the Marines, which a lot of lads did deploy to the jungle, and that's another different animal as well, so I can't speak on that. But probably the worst environment to soldier in, and maybe some of the listeners might not appreciate this, but is the Scottish Highlands. I'm telling you now, mate. You do a mountain warfare training carder in Glencoe in January, carrying 40 kilos, weapon, rifle, and it's wet, it's muddy. Sometimes it's freezing. Do you know what I mean? The wind side.
Yeah.
It's that is more challenging than the Arctic and the desert, because the Arctic is so cold, it's dry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The only time that it really comes into play of getting wet is like when you get in your tent, you have to get all your snow off you. And when you start to defrost, if you've got any snow left on you, Obviously, it defrosts, turns to water. That's a big problem then. In the desert's different perspective again. It's red hot. So the Scottish Highlands and the Welsh mountains or Dartmoor down south. Basically, the British Isles is the worst place because of the weather. And offshore.
So we spend a lot of the time running for, do we?
That's it, mate. That's why we spend some of them on holidays. So, I think perspective is definitely something that you need to have offshore as well.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it is, mate, there's always someone a lot
worse off
than us. Look, we've got decent jobs, got healthy family. I've got 3 beautiful daughters. That's all you want.
Yeah. Safety mindset is really important to you. Why?
Yeah. So safety and efficiency, which I've got on my LinkedIn profile, I believe are the fundamentals. Now, you might not think the two tie in, but actually they do. So for a drilling rig or a drilling contractor to tender for work with a client, an oil company or whatever, what's 2 things the oil company will look at? Is your safety
and efficiency.
Massive, mate.
Yeah.
Everyone says, they're not on about KPIs and all this, but everything's recorded. So efficiency, like the driller, every 12-hour shift, the driller on shift has to do a daily drilling report, and every 15 minutes of that 12 hours is accounted for. So something's taking longer than it should, than it has previously. Questions are getting asked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being efficient doesn't mean you're not safe or you can cut corners. It's all about planning offline. We're fortunate on our type of rigs. We've got 2 assistant drillers on each crew. So me and my colleague, we sort of mix it up. One of us will stay operational and the other one will be like offline planning. Works out great. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then we'll flip round the next day, or depend on what we get handed over. So always looking through the POA or looking at the next one, right, what can we get ready, bosh, while the other AD and the driller and the lads are dealing with the operations now. And then if you can get things planned offline, it makes the upcoming operation more seamless. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Safety as well. Like, you don't have to be slow to be safe. It just comes. Do the right thing. If you follow policies and procedures, you're bulletproof as well if anything went wrong. And I always say this to the lads, like, because I've got, again, young roughnecks on my crew, and some of them haven't got kids. I say, look, let's just play the game, get the job done right. Because ultimately, I've got 3 kids to feed.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I like to do things right. Do you know what I mean? If I lost my job tomorrow, I mean, I ain't got much else going for his life. So try and take it as serious as I can. And I think there's 2 that I ain't together, Joe. So if you've got a tight knit crew, where, for example, I joined my crew now a year ago as their AD, and everyone was sort of joining, and there was different mixture of personalities, and things weren't as seamless as they should be. But once you build continuity in the crew, the efficiency and the safety just ties into one. Over time, it'll just click. You find out how each other work, what to do, what not to do, and then the lads are gaining more experience, and then with mentorship from me and the other AD and the driller, just all ties in nicely, mate. And we've got an awesome crew, to be fair. And to be fair, all the lads on our rig, all the drill crews and deck crews are sound. So I think them tie in too well together, safety and efficiency.
3 kids, as you mentioned, 2 sausage dogs, and obviously a missus. How do you balance life out when you come home? Straight back into it, obviously.
Straight back into it. Like we spoke offline earlier, it's just chaos, mate. And then stuff the back of short change, 2 days to pull your head out your arse, so to speak. And your missus is shouting at you because you don't know whether the dog food is or whatever, and you're like, your head's minced. So
and you're
it's
tired.
hard to balance, and you're tired. It's hard to balance. And then sometimes I feel like I'm a guest in this house.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way, or is it just?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially if, like, I get a bit longer than 2 weeks off, but when I first come back, you're totally interfering with everything. Yeah, everything.
Massive. Like the routine is just out the window, and then Mrs. will be like, "Do you want to help out with the bath?" And I'm thinking, there's a sequence that she's got down to a T. Do you know what I mean? It's like just reading an operational plan of action on the rig, and she's got this down to a T. It's just effortless for her. For me, I'm running around with all sorts, wet nappies, the dog's coming up the stairs wanting to get fed, and it's chaotic. It is chaotic, but it's fun.
It's something I've started looking into a bit more, actually. There's a woman, she's coming on the podcast more. She worked offshore and now she's onshore. And I had a chat with her just a few weeks back, when I asked her to come on, and she summed it up really well. She says it's very difficult for people coming back, especially if you've been institutionalized, which is pretty much what you do. When you go offshore, you're so stuck in a set routine. Your whole day is based around this one job. So when you come away from that, because almost things are, laid out for you institutionally, funny enough, you're coming back, you've got to switch that kind of mindset off of, and then you've got to start doing things which are totally against the run of play of what if you've been tripping pipe, or if you've been running in your instances, if you've been, running in the hall and whatnot. And she says to come from that into being expected to just get straight back into a routine which is carried on while you've not been there, or which has changed, because everything changes at home. Most of the job stays the same when you're offshore. Obviously, different wells, different circumstances and whatnot. But yeah, she said that she and I'm sure she'll be very good when she comes on to speak about it. But she said it's she's finding that it's men that are institutionalized in this way, that are suffering big time. But she did also highlight the fact is it depends on the personal situation back at home. If something's going on at home and you're not there, and you come back and you're almost blamed a bit for not being there for it, which I thought was really good. I'm sure she'll have plenty more to say about it. But yeah, I know what you mean. You're totally.
That's a fair point, mate. Yeah.
You're totally.
Institutionalized.
100%. And when you come back in, I've got 4 kids. Everything changes when you go, and I just did 7 weeks there. I come back and everything had changed. One of my boys was totally different. He'd matured quite a bit, and you missed all that, and you're coming back and you're thinking he's still doing the same, but he's not doing that anymore. And I know what you mean. I'm with you on it.
That's a sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 weeks for me is a doddle, actually. The kids in our last prefers the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off for now, because it's more frequent being home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did miss last trip. I missed was it last trip or trip before? My youngest daughter's first steps. I was gutted.
Oh, no.
But it's horrible, isn't it? But
yeah.
It is what it is, mate. At the end of the day, this job, which I take seriously and I enjoy, do you know what I mean? I want to continue in the drilling industry. That would be me until retirement, if all goes well. I take it serious. But this job ultimately pays for these girls back home, and they've got a good life, and it's all for them to enjoy. So that's important.
Yeah, it's part of the sacrifice, is it?
It is.
We'll not speak too much about it because we've spoken about it off air, but you are an aspiring author as well, are you?
Yeah, I'm sort of working on something in the background. I don't want to give too much away, but
no, don't.
I'm trying to work on something because, again, I'm not a writer. I'm not an English literature expert. So it's difficult, but I'm putting something together, mate. But I appreciate that.
Yeah. So obviously, coming from a military background, what would you say to boys and girls that might be interested in leaving the military and consider an offshore oil and gas career?
Depending on the avenue they want to go down, have a serious think about it. Do your research. Do your due diligence. If you've got an engineering background, I think you're laughing because you've got something to fall back on onto the beach. Where for me, I mean, there's not much top hole drilling in the middle of Sunderland. Do you know what I mean? Like running production. So, and I have a serious think about it, but there is opportunities out there. And I always say this as well to the lads on my crew. This is the industry of opportunity, because where else can you join without any skills and then in 10, 15 years down the line, you've been promoted up the ranks and you're earning over 120, 130k.
Mm,
That doesn't happen anywhere else.
no.
So if you're serious about it and put your mind to it, it is the industry of opportunity. So, but going back to your question, there is definitely opportunity out there for men and women leaving the military, but just do your research. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What stands out as your proudest moment in your career?
Military or offshore?
Right across the board.
Probably earning me green beret, mate. That was
Yeah.
like I've already talked about. The 32 weeks of training actually took me longer. I got injured, so I tore my right hip flexor. My grandmother died in training when I was on exercise. I had to crack on until the weekend, or the weekend after, go to her funeral and come back. So there was loads of adversity mixed in there. So eventually getting me green beret after a year in training, that was probably my proudest moment, career-wise. But offshore, just being able to provide a good life for the kids, man. I think that for me it's great. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. It's what it's all about, is it really, at the end of the day?
Oh, absolutely. And seeing their faces when you come home and they're like,
Yeah.
Dad, what have you got for us? Oh. So, you know how it is.
I stopped doing that after a while, like, especially after the short trips. Skipper was getting rinsed every time I went through it.
It's not cheap in Skipper. Oh.
No, it's not the same place it once was.
I know. So that's definitely my two proudest things, mate. My green beret and just providing for the kids and our lass and the two sausages. So good life.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Nathan. Like I said, I think I said it off air, it's quite difficult to get offshore boys to come on and girls. I'm trying to entice more of them, and if they come forward, it'd be even easier. But I do really appreciate you coming on and accepting my invitation.
That's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me, Joe. Enjoyed it.